Cotton Odom, he's an old farmer, and he'd come to Fort Worth once a week to get bread to feed his hog. We'd be driving along that old pickup, he'd pull a lever and flip a switch, and he could go back to gas line. Or he could do the opposite, go back to LP. Well, in Ann Richards' deal at work, she wanted to install fueling stations, you know, to try to get this started. A Texas Ranger friend of mine drove one of the first cars that was converted to that. But there's many things that I could talk to you about today. Former Commissioner Troy Thompson now, we got the first air monitor put in Johnson County on the US 67 bypass. And I'm very concerned about our air. Like I told you, I cannot see the two nuclear plants now, hardly ever. But common sense is one thing that I found out that don't prevail much anymore. And I grew up in a society as a young man, but I thank y'all very much, and thank you for your time. I appreciate what y'all do.
Thank you both very much. The next two speakers would be Bill Ellis and Debbie Hastings, please. I'm sorry, Debbie Hastings, are you here? She's here. You won't be long.
Good afternoon, my name is Debbie Hastings. I'm the Vice President for Environmental Affairs with the Texas Oil and Gas Association. Texoga is the largest and oldest petroleum organization in Texas. Our members are strong at over 4,000, and they produce in excess of 90% of the Texas crude oil and natural gas. They operate nearly 100% of the state's refining capacity, and are responsible for a vast majority of the state's pipeline mileage. According to the Railroad Commission of Texas, the Texas average rig count as of July 16th was 659, representing about 43% of all active land rigs in the United States. Statewide, 945 wells were drilled in November of 2009, which was down significantly from over 1,600 wells the year before. As a special note, the Texas Railroad Commission is the state regulatory agency for oil and gas, and they're charged with preventing waste and pollution while safeguarding property rights. Daniel Yerban wrote in the Prize about the most valuable and misunderstood commodity, oil. Well, I would like to take it a step further to include natural gas. They are misunderstood in both the complexity and importance. All production isn't the same. There are a variety of reservoirs, there are different types of wells, there are a variable number and size of sites, there are different types of operations, there are different ages of equipment, there are variable capabilities, and there are different business arrangements. And one control scheme does not fit all. We always look for opportunities to effectively reduce emissions. Our goal is to keep the product in the pipe. That's what we're here to do. TCQ regulations are already in place, such as controlling VOC emissions at a site exceeding 24 tons per year. TCQ also has written to you, Dr. Al, a letter on June 11th, which I have a copy of and will leave with you, that outlines their activities related to the oil and gas sector. We support continuing to work with our state agency, as outlined in our June 28th letter to you as well. As activity has increased, the TCQ has stepped up their efforts to collect reliable data in the Barnett Shale area. As Chairman Pepper mentioned earlier, they have a phase 2 and Phase 1 and Phase 2 emission inventory in that area. They have completed Phase 1, and operations were reported in all 23 counties that comprise the Barnett-Shell area. And we are looking for Phase 2 to begin within probably this month. Also last week, TCEQ proposed a new permit by rule and standard permit for oil and natural gas statewide, including meeting limits for maintenance, startup, and shutdown. As we move forward, we welcome an open dialogue. I thank you for allowing us to be here today. We appreciate the opportunity to provide input. We urge you to avoid duplicating efforts of our state agencies. Any changes should complement what states are doing versus overlapping them. Texas has an active minor source program that works effectively to limit emissions in ways that are cost effective. Any new NSPS or NESHAP regulations should allow states the ability to define existing control measures that are equivalent to or exceed the new standard and thus demonstrate compliance in lieu of the NSPS NESHAP requirement. We need to remember the complexity of the operations as one size does not fit all. Requirements that are viable for multiple well sites will not be economically viable for single operators. The vast majority of wells produce only a small fraction of the production, less than 15 barrels per day of equivalency. Production from a new well reduces dramatically during the first few years. Typically, initial production flow rates will be 80% lower in 5 years, meaning lower emissions and potentially different control equipment. We need to have the flexibility in moving that equipment around where it's needed. We need to avoid unintended consequences. As oil and gas sites are historically remote and widely dispersed, any testing, monitoring, inspections, and record keeping that require specialized equipment and training would require dedicated trips, adding significant mobile source emissions, potentially offsetting the emission reduction benefits with any new regulations. Any changes should be fully justified and scientifically based with a complete evaluation of the economic impacts of the oil and gas operators. And as we are here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I would like to point out that in the last 10 years, as our population has increased by 19%, our air has dramatically improved and our well sites have gone up by 19 times. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bill Ellis. I'm not a government man, I'm not a professional. I'm just what you call a good old American citizen. And I'm here with a big, big complaint. The big complaint is about the government. Just generally government. Not about the specific little boxes you have that are colored and clear and different, all kinds of things, but the real deal is about government. Now, a lot of people don't like government. We already know that. A lot of people don't like Congress. There's a high percentage that say, oh, we can't stand Congress. You got to keep referring back and saying, well, it's Congress that hired us to do these jobs, so we have to do it, even though we don't like it exactly. It's not just perfect, but we'll do the best we can. Well, I say baloney. That's no way to get anything done. What I'm talking about is when you say performance standards, that's another way of saying government control. The government, you have to come up, the government, Congress, that nobody likes, gave you a job. So now you got to create what you're going to do in this job. You have to make it look good. It doesn't look good. A good example of this lady was down here from Midlothian. She talked about she had problems with people in her area. It really comes from the cement plant. They have a very big cement plant down here. But that's a problem that's been there for a long time. The government's been there for a long time. Look what happened to her daughter. She looks to the government for help. Baloney. Baloney. You've got to look to the the private, to the marketplace. The marketplace always works. When the government takes over to do a job, it's going to be a joke. It always, always is. Look at Midlothian. We have people dying there. Is anything done? No. The lady comes up here and talks, she says, please help me, my child has 6 times was in the hospital. That's pretty disastrous. But to look for the government for a solution, you 4 gentlemen happen to be the ones in front of me, are the ones who need to be responsible for that kind of CRAP. What I really wanted to talk about was credibility. Credibility is a big part of this. You mentioned bureaucracy before. That's just a small part of it. Bureaucracy is the problem. But inside the bureaucracy is the credibility. The credibility isn't worth anything. Look at Midlothian. Look at anything else. Look at Congress. Look at the way the society hates Congress. The EPA. The EPA has something to do with what you mentioned earlier as, what was it, climate control. I've also heard it as being called global warming. Another joke. You guys just can't get it. The thing is, when the government takes over control and they find smart people, the doctors, the PhDs, whatever, they're supposed to be intelligentsia, I call them. I have a book here that I wrote 10 years ago about the 2001 fiasco. People say, well, what do you do? What's the big deal about that? That's over. There's no problem now. What it's about is credibility. They didn't know then. They don't know now. You guys don't know dilly squat. I'm just a regular old citizen, but it's very simple to see that when we have up on the screen boxes, and these boxes are going to be our solutions, you guys got it wrong. You never can get it right. And that's very upsetting. When you use boxes to explain how you're going to solve the problem, all you're doing is saying, what is it, in Washington, D.C., per capita is the richest place in the United States right now per person? You guys have a job. And you're not doing worth a damn. And yeah, I'm upset. I learned about this yesterday. I came up here today. Because it's so obvious, so blatant, so sincerely incorrect. This book I wrote, 2001 Confusion, is about the millennium. But what it's really about, it's the answer to it. Nobody knows the answer to the millennium. Nobody cares about the answer to the millennium. People say, why did you write that book? The reason I wrote about the book was because of credibility. Credibility is what is so lacking for years and years. This was 10 years ago. They still don't know how the millennium works. They don't know how numbers work. I've got in here letters from the U.S. Naval Observatory, the Royal Observatory of Greenwich, England, and many others. And every one of them talk about credibility. Nobody has credibility. Nobody comes up with a solution. We've had a problem in Midlothian for many years, many years. Has anything been done? Zero. Nothing. And it's due to people like you that sit there and talk big and talk about boxes, and the job doesn't get done. If it goes to the private industry, we have a problem with the government getting beyond lobbyists. That's right, you'll never get your job done as long as you have lobbyists, because money is what works. Political corruption is what is there. I don't know, have I gone over my time yet? Okay, I give up. I quit right there. Any questions?